So I guess right now, right, we're all getting to quickly find out how fast life can change. Some storms of life come and go, while others actually come and forever change our perspective on the world. We're in the middle of that right now. If you're looking for those ways to navigate this unsettling time, then join us today for this honest and open conversation that will not only bring light to the immediate crisis, but also better prepare you for all of the future life that life will hand out to as far as ups and downs, right? So today on the show, Dr. Joanne White, who I'm going to introduce in a moment, you're going to love her, is going to give us some real solutions of how families can come together during this unique and stressful time, what to do, what to say to each other, and how to support one another. And we're going to move into the energy of the solution around how it is that we can take this time and actually turn it into one of our blessings. So I hope you will join us. My name is Cheryl Bassett. I'm founder of Unstoppable Connections, international best-selling author, and creator of the award-winning Unstoppable Family Meeting Toolkit. I am also your host for the show, Kitchen Table Conversations, as part of the Edge Network. So families do tap into my 4 gifts. It's really a reflection of my family's journey and how it is that we got to come together and become a team. And we created something called the 4 gifts. And those 4 gifts created an unshakable, unbreakable foundation. If you would like to learn more about the 4 gifts for your family and my work around connecting families, you can go to unstoppableconnections.com. If you would like to be on the show or you have an idea for the show, you can also reach out to me at kitchentableconversations.com. I want to set an intention for this show, and I do this for every show because I feel like it's so important. But this show is designed to cover the fun stuff to the tough stuff and everything in between. Today, we're going to be delving into some of that tougher stuff, right? Because of what's happening in our world. But it also harnesses the power of the 4th gift that I get to share, which is the gift of love. And we unwrap the gift of love by choosing to celebrate ourselves and others. So it's with that intention that we come to every show with an open heart, an open mind, and a true celebration of the person who came here today to share with us. And that is Dr. Joanne White. So before I bring her onto the screen and you guys get to meet her, let me just tell you about her. Let me just let you know how truly blessed we are to have her today. Dr. Joanne White is an international #1 best-selling and award-winning author, speaker, and consultant. She's recognized as a Goodwill Global Ambassador for civil and humanitarian work in education, entrepreneurship, coaching, and women's issues. She's a certified life, spiritual, and business coach, an energy master teacher. And Dr. Joanne also inspires men, women, families, and businesses to achieve greater health and wellness, master success, thrive, and triumph. And that's what we're going to do. Her books, training, and seminars have transformed millions of people to create the lives and businesses of their dreams. She's executive producer and host of the Power Your Life show. I got to be on her show, which was an honor. She's also been featured online in publications such as Good Housekeeping, More, and WebMD. She's also appeared on radio and television networks such as NBC, CBS, Fox, and Voice America, sharing her expertise. So how honored are we to have someone with all of that joining us today? Thank you, Dr. Joanne White, for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. The honor is truly mine. It's a gift to be here. And I love your introduction, not just to me, but everything that you're doing is wonderful and very important right now.
Oh, so important right now, right? For this connection piece, right? And that's why I love, I mean, we set this up for you to come on the show quite a while back, and how beautiful is it that right now, you know, you get to bring your heart into the center of families' lives. And, you know, and yet one of the things we want to make sure everybody knows is that there is a crisis right now and we're in the middle of it. And how do we get to navigate that? But we're also going to talk about how, you know, there's life has storms, right? And so this is what we're going to share today is going to help through any storm, not just the one that we're currently in. So with that, so tell me how it is, you got started kind of like in all the, I mean, you do like your bio is like a crazy amazing. So
I'm 1,000,000 years old.
You'd almost think you'd have to be to have that bio, but you don't look good.
You know, I started very early on working in summer camps and programs, and I was working with children, and there was a visionary director who actually was working with, decided to bring in children with autism. This is many, many years ago, and it wasn't very popular. And he said to me, "Would you like to be a counselor?" I said, "Sure," not knowing anything. And I fell in love with these kids and shifted my career a lot. My initial career was going to be in dance and writing, and I shifted it more into education and helping people because that's really my calling. And to me, that's beautiful. So things just grew from there into opening up a private practice, working with families, working with business professionals, working with children, and also still working with people and individuals with autism, and helping people navigate their lives in any way. So it's important to help people today navigate what's going on. That's
Yeah,
the short version.
yeah. So it's funny because it's like I didn't start on the pathway I started on, right? It's just like it unfolded, and I think sometimes when life just unfolds and puts us really clearly into our gifts and our talents, which you are, it's like that's like the perfect way to have it.
Right. I think we get, well, for me, I've always gotten cues and clues and whatever, and that's part of the journey, is following that and knowing that that's going to lead you. At least it led me to where I need to be. And people go through a lot of different transitions. So maybe look at what's happening now as a transition, not just for an individual or a family, but also for the world, because things are shifting, and the way we create relationships, the way we create bonding may have to be a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that we need to sacrifice that in any way, shape, or form. And
Yeah.
that's so important. I I want to say one thing about everything, whether it doesn't matter what trauma or what challenge you're dealing with, it's so important for families, for parents, for caregivers to take care of themselves. It's like what they say when you're on a plane, before you put a mask on your child, make sure that you take care of yourself. And that's so important now, because I've spoken to people who are so stressed. I spoke to a mother the other day who was so stressed and needed to really work out her own stress, because kids pick that up. They see their parents upset, and their parents are kind of the ones that are driving the car. And so when that happens, they need to be at you as a parent, as a caregiver, need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And
Yeah.
also making sure that you're taking care of others. So can I give some tips about taking care of self?
Yeah, before you do, I just really quick, because I think you just hit on something so valuable there. Because I was talking with someone the other day who was really in a state of depression around all the stuff that's going. Now, in fairness to her, she just had a baby. We're in one of the craziest times ever, right? So I get it, but she was really, really sad. But she has two kids who are also a little bit older, and I just shared with her, because I grew up in a family where my mom was sad a lot, and but the greatest times in my life and gift that she could give me was when she was happy. And so I think, like you're just saying, like, and I just always remember that and thought, the more that I could live and stay in my joy, the more that my children could stay in theirs. And so it just, yeah, you hit something really important about taking care of ourselves. And if you think your kids aren't aware, they are. So anyway, but yeah, let's move into
Kids are masters at picking up our moods and knowing, even from our body language, our facial expressions. And in difficult times, we get stress. Stress is a normal response. How you handle it, what you do after that response, is important. And I think it's important to acknowledge and recognize that you're in stress, and do the same thing with your kids and your family. If you see your kids being stressed out, acknowledge that they're stressed. Let them know that it's okay, and then let's figure out proactive ways to handle the stress. And there are many ways to do that. So part of taking care of yourself and also your family, which also helps with stress, is physical activity. Is, you and I were talking earlier about dancing and about being playful and singing, all that. you can make this time fun, like you just suggested, which is
Mm-hmm.
so important, because we need to feel that. We need to have a sense of joy in the midst of all. When I'm calling up my friends and talking to them FaceTime or whatever, I'm cracking jokes. Now, somebody would say, why are you doing that? Well, I like to lighten the mood because things feel very heavy. And I pick up a lot of energy, and the energy can be very heavy and toxic. Keep in mind, your children, no matter what age they are, they're picking it up too. And it's really important to make sure that there's time. You have to have structure. And
Mm-hmm.
yet you can't be a perfectionist during this time, because you're just going to let that go out the window. It's,
Right.
it's so important, though, to make time for yourselves, allow everybody to have a structure. And I also recommend, if you can have a family meeting without screaming, without fighting, a family meeting where people can share their feelings. And so you know where everybody's coming from, and it's okay to share your feelings. But I said to somebody the other day, Cheryl, when you're doing that, set some boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's not a screaming, shouting match about, why did you do that? And you can talk about it and get to some level of resolution, because in this time, we're confined a lot. And that's also a challenge. We're not used to that.
Now, there's new navigation that's going on right now. And I think, it's like anything in a times like this, where we get to discover and uncover things that maybe we, really actually become blessings for us. I think there'll be things that families do during this time that will start new traditions and, new ways to connect and so forth. But the other side of that equation is it's also a stressful time, and you don't want to have it, tear the family apart. So right now, I think there's a choice, right, that families get to kind of make. Are we going to allow this time to bring us together, or are we going to allow it to tear us apart? And I hopefully, it's sitting down and communication, even sometimes tough communication. It's communication.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
And also validating what people are experiencing and feeling, because, and watching, it's important also to watch for signs of stress and fear. We're exposed right now to so much about what's going on with the virus, okay, and with the challenges, and your kids are also exposed. So I would want to know from my children, what is it you're hearing? What is it you're paying attention to that's on the news, or maybe a friend is telling you on the, Facebook or what, FaceTime? Because there's a lot of news that can be scary, and a lot of news that's not accurate. And I think you need to make sure that your children are getting the accurate news. And I think many kids at this time, kids are missing graduation, they're missing their
Yeah.
friends, their activities, their social groups. And I think that there's a lot of many different kinds of feelings, not only stress, but anger, resentment, frustration. Like, why is this happening to me as a kid? I mean, I didn't do anything, right?
Right.
And we've got to kind of to talk that through. And I think one of the ways to do that with kids is to say, no, you didn't cause it, we didn't cause it, or whatever. However, you can't go outside and play with Johnny, because we don't know if Johnny is carrying something, or if you whatever, and we don't want you to get your grandparents sick, or your brother sick, or your sister sick. It's not fair. And that's that theme. It's not fair is a theme a lot that I'm hearing from
Yeah.
families about their kids, that they're
Yeah.
saying, it's not fair, I didn't do anything, why can't I go outside and play basketball with everybody?
Yeah. I've heard it from a few adults too, because right now it's just, and but there's some real challenges out there, and so I think you're bringing up a valid point from a kid's perspective, though. It's like it's hard to wrap around, like, well, I don't get to have my graduation, or I don't get to go to my school dance, or all those things that really are memories that that they're kind of missing, and so it's really. So now the families have to start to come together and create some of those memories, right? It's just going to get
right. And the thing is, we can and elicit your children too, because let them participate in, okay, what can we do together as a family? How can we structure this and create fun? Also, many kids are doing homeschooling and instruction, and so they need to have a schedule with that. And but learning can also be fun, so make it as creative as possible. And
Mhm.
speaking of creativity, this is a time, and I'm seeing a lot of families do very creative things. I saw a family that they were actually playing golf in their living room, and the kids were having fun and enjoying it. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be so much competition. It's more about relieving stress, building relationships, and keeping the family strong and together. And that's key.
Yeah. And I would also say that sometimes too, like just turn off the TV.
Not only sometimes, I think
Like a lot of times.
well, I think too, right now you want your kids to be able to socialize and to watch TV and to socialize and to watch videos, whatever, and play games. Limit that. Oh, be flexible, let them do that, but not 24/7.
No.
So you have to have some structure, some routine, and some guidelines. And the guidelines, you can't just be in your head. You have to be able to share them with the family so everybody knows what the expectations are, and they can even say, well, I don't want to, and work out something that's comparable and compatible for everybody concerned. And that's key.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, getting together, doing some exercising together.
Yeah, dancing,
I was going to say
singing.
dancing. We're going to do a dance challenge next week in one of the groups.
Oh,
And
good. I'm going to join.
just put on the music and just dance. And I was laughing because when you said something about your original pathway was dance, I'm like, yes, I could have told you that, right? Because I can see you're dancing already. It's great. So
I do that too. I love to write, and when I can't find a word or a thought or whatever, I get up and I dance, and somehow the physicality of it helps me. So that's a cue to
well,
somebody else as well.
there's a lot of energy that can come. Put on some positive music and just like dance. I encourage anybody out there right now, just put on some music and just dance and see like how the energy level and the positivity will just I think rise. Or we're going to do a laughter challenge. Let's just start laughing. Sometimes just like starting the process of laughing and then just letting it flow. I mean, all those
they have laughter yoga.
That's
where people are actually there laughing, and initially it seems contrived. However, once you get into laughing, it's fun, it's contagious, and it keeps going, and you come out of it feeling really good. So
I did laughter yoga, and I laughed so hard. And once you got started, I just thought, and I think I ended up like everybody was laughing at me laughing because I just like, it was one of those moments where I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to let it go and have this moment. But it was phenomenal. Right. And it's just very cleansing. But that's the energy we need right now, because obviously we've got to balance back out, some of the heaviness, as you said, that's out there that we're in the middle of. But life can be heavy at any times for families. And so all these things we're talking about are just good to do, whenever you feel like, because obviously there's other things that go on in just like your particular family might be having a challenge or an issue, right? With, whether it's, a death in the family, or you have to, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Somebody lost a job, all those things that are out there. Of course, all of that's kind of going on right now, obviously. So
challenges happen all the time. We're in one right now, and this is one that many people are facing simultaneously. However, families, like you said, whether it's a death or a loss or something, go through their own challenges, and it's important to be there for people. Now, oftentimes, particularly in this particular challenge, we can't always be physically connected with people. And yet there are so many ways to connect and to make sure that people are okay. And encourage your kids even to do FaceTime or to write letters to relatives that they can't see or whatever, to keep that connection going. it's amazing how a little caring, a little
Mhm.
compassion can go so far to make another person who may be isolated, who may be in pain, who I spoke to a friend of mine who experienced several losses in the last 10 days. I mean, close family members and friends, that's devastating.
Mhm.
And we don't, and at the same time, we're being asked to isolate. So reach out. You don't know what other people are experiencing. And at the same time, you need to make sure what's going on in your family, what your children are experiencing. Do you know what fear looks like? Do you know what their anxiety looks like? Not necessarily about this situation. Don't discount what they're going through. If they're fearful, acknowledge the fear that, yeah, that could be fearful, and so that they don't feel that, well, she's discounting me, she doesn't believe me, he because we all have fear. We've
Yeah.
had fear at various times in our lives, and I don't know that you're ever going to get rid of fear. I think the way to handle fear is to recognize it, even to talk through it, to figure out ways to work with it so that you're not so fearful,
Yeah.
and go on with it. I remember years ago, many years ago, when I was going to be doing I guess it was for a large group, it was a meeting, a huge meeting, a huge for like over 100 women. And I decided at that point I was going to do PowerPoint many years ago. I didn't even know PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, there's my challenge. I'm going to learn it to do it, which I did. However, those first few minutes, which is, am I going to be able to do this? Is it going to work out? So fear can actually, I always say that the other side of fear is excitement. So it's like two sides to a coin. So you can utilize that fear to excite yourself, to drive you to do something that's healthy, that's important, that moves you out of the fear into something else, something special.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the fear of the unknown. Once you do it, you realize, wow, it wasn't really so bad. It's just taking that step and
Right.
stepping
Well,
into it.
with kids too, because of all the noise that's going on, it's scary. Don't do this, don't do that. You could get this, you could die. The risks are there. So make sure that you're talking with your children about what's going on. And again, you have to be very concerned about the different age groups. How are you talking to somebody that's 5 versus somebody that's 15 versus somebody that's 19? And
Mhm.
you may have to really play with that a little bit so that you're doing the right thing. There are, at this time too, Cheryl, there are many resources for families. There's also a lot of stuff that you don't want your kids to pay attention to. There are resources and ways that you can help tell your children what's going on, games and activities and playful resources and family resources. So as families, as parents, check them out. See if it's something that you want to utilize, that you feel good about, that you think that your kids would gravitate to and would get some benefit from it. And that's important.
Yeah. I think I remember we used to do something called setting goals, and we actually had something called the silly rule. And the silly rule is that you commit to something for 30 days, you give it 100%. But at the end of 30 days, you can say, this is the silliest thing I've ever done, and quit. And so I was just thinking the other day, like, it'd be a fun time because we've kind of got about 30 more days here, right? That we're sort of in this space, at least to April 30th. Now they're saying, and of course, this sort of dates this video. And again, I think all these things we're talking about could be done at any time. But just taking something and saying, hey, I'm going to just do it for 30 days. You don't have to continue it, but it's a way to start something new. It could be playing an instrument. For me, it was, I decided I was going to start jogging and running. And at the end of 30 days, I can honestly say I disliked it more than when I started it. So I quit it. Like there's other things I enjoy doing. That's not one of them. But it was an opportunity. So I think just getting creative during this space to say, hey, what can we do in the next 30 days that's just going to maybe make our life.
Right. Creativity is key. You could encourage your children to write, I remember when I was a kid, I used to love to act out things. So have them create a little play that they perform for the family, or little games that they make up and play. You'd be amazed at how creative we all are. And I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm not creative," because they're thinking, "Well, I have to draw this great painting," and I can't draw.
No, I can't either. My sick people aren't even recognizable. So um, it's definitely not. But I do have a little bit more of that creative gene in terms of like, let's do, like in writing and getting creative.
Right.
Like
and
plays
I do too, and I love it. Right. So again, this is an opportunity to explore your creativity as a parent, the creativity of each individual member, and also a collective creative family activity that everybody could participate in. And there's no limit to that, as long as it's safe, as long as you're keeping physical distancing from other people right now. Why not? Make it fun, make it real, make it loving. You mentioned something very early about love and compassion. And to me, that's key. When people are stressed, our tempers could be short. We can misinterpret what somebody's saying by their tone, by a text, whatever. So please be compassionate with yourself. Don't have these incredible expectations that you can't fulfill. Compassionate with your family, with your loved ones, and really understand that when we're in a challenge, we're in a challenge, and there's no way to mitigate that in any way. You have to recognize that right now what we're dealing with is a challenge, and at another time it could be a different challenge. Be accepting of what's going on, and do so with love and care and compassion. And make sure I have to emphasize that, because oftentimes we are our worst critics and are there like, okay, we're the taskmaster, do this. Be gentle with yourself. You're going through a challenge too right now. Take care of you and everyone else too.
Yeah.
That's the line. Take care of you and everyone else too. So,
yeah, I like that. little rhyme we got going. We used to do something called the benefit of the doubt relationship. So when it felt like it was sort of going off kilter, what we would say, okay, let's just stop, because let's say we're on point A and we want to get to Z. If everybody's in agreement that Z is the goal, right? That's where we want to be. We might have different ways of getting there, but if we can just remember that we all want the same thing, we all, you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's just so we give that benefit of the doubt, because we all are unique individuals finding our path and our way to handle whatever that is. But at the end of the day, obviously, we all have the same goals most of the time, right?
You brought up something that's really important, because don't discount what somebody else is experiencing or somebody else is thinking. Don't say that's ridiculous. Acknowledge what's going on. Hey, Tommy, that's an interesting idea. Can you share that more with us? What are you thinking? Rather than, oh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And again, that's part of being caring and compassionate and loving. And that's also a way to, if you're doing that caringly, to help promote more creativity and more communication and interaction.
You have to make it safe for people to feel like they can share. And absolutely. So all right. So we obviously, thank you for all those of you who joined us today and who could catch the replay of this. We're excited. And of course, it'll be, you may be watching. So you've gotten to see us you've gotten to see Dr. White here do some dancing. But if you're listening, you missed the dancing part. Sorry. But that's all right. She's got great energy and I love it. We just kind of wanted to sort of tackle through, in a really positive way. There's so much good that can come out of this time and space. And that's where we really wanted to stay, was to harness that type of energy. And again, anytime that, families get to spend more time together, there's beauty being weaved in to the moment that we're in. And for some families that might take a little navigation, and that's what we wanted to come today and share. So what we do when we end every show is we talk about a dot, and a dot stands for a drop of thought. So what is kind of like a little pearl of wisdom But is there so what would be like the last, like if you were going to leave them with one parting thought or one drop of thought, what would that be from you?
Well, it's important to have compassion and caring and listen and pay attention and validate people in the family and friends. And it's also important to, even though we're in close quarters right now, to make sure that you take some me time and make sure that your family members do that too, because maybe it's just going into your bedroom and meditating or doing something, or maybe it's having your child do something that's totally theirs, like, so that everybody also feels comfortable in the space, not crowded, so that they can come together in a loving way and also be comfortable by themselves. And right now, that time, that space outside is limited. So create ways to do that. Be creative, be loving, be open, be expressive, and remember, take care of you, take care of your family, because everyone right now matters.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So, yeah, and I always like to close out by kind of sharing, that just ripples don't flow in, they flow out. And if we really want to see change out in our world, it's going to start with us, and it's going to start in our own homes with our own families first. So for all of you out there that are watching this, go hug your family. Hopefully you can still do that. If you can't, as soon as you can, go hug your family.
Virtual hug.
Yeah, virtual hugs, which are still allowed. And I love what you're saying about just be compassionate. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Dr. White, for being here with us. And till next time, be good to yourself.
Carol, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.